If you're deep in the Kubernetes world, you've probably heard the news about ingress-nginx, and you might be feeling just a little bit of stress about it. Well, today, we're going to look at a tool that isn't just trying to be another piece of software, it actually wants to be your migration therapist. So let's just cut right to the chase. Your Kubernetes ingress, and we're talking specifically about ingress-nginx, has a very real expiration date. Do you have a plan? I mean, for real. It's a question that's probably causing some sleepless nights for DevOps teams everywhere, mainly because this is not a simple find and replace job. And here's the timeline that's fueling all that anxiety. The end of life was announced way back in March 2024, with the final curtain call in March 2026. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds pretty far away. But in the world of production traffic and complex infrastructure, trust me, that date is creeping up on us fast. The clock is absolutely ticking. And this really gets us to the heart of it, right? The ingress-nginx problem. Let's just be honest with ourselves. This is the end of life that absolutely no one wanted. It's a tool that has become so foundational, so baked into how countless Kubernetes clusters operate. You know, what's really telling is how the community is talking about this. This quote from our source material just hits the nail on the head. Migrating isn't just a technical task. It's an emotional roller coaster. You've got grief for a tool that just worked, and then a whole mountain of frustration about the massive project that just landed on your plate. And that frustration, it's completely justified because of all these hidden little complexities. We're not just talking about simple routing. Oh no. Over the years, we've all layered on custom annotations for URL rewrites, for external auth, for custom security, and let's not even talk about those black magic hacks that, one person on the team wrote 3 years ago and now nobody wants to touch. None of this stuff just ports over cleanly. So, staring down all this complexity and frustration, a new open-source tool has shown up. It's time to meet our migration therapist, the Ingress Migration Kit, or IMK for short. So, what is this thing exactly? Well, IMK is a command line tool, and it has a very specific mission: to scan your current setup and give you a crystal clear picture of every single thing that is going to break when you try to move to the new Gateway API. It's all about finding the problems before they become a production outage. And this quote right here perfectly explains the philosophy behind the tool. The creators are really clear about this. IMK is not a magic wand. It's not going to fix everything for you with a single command. Its whole purpose is to be that level-headed therapist, to sit down, look at your cluster's problems, and give you an honest, practical diagnosis. Okay, so how does this therapy session actually work? What happens when you run this thing? Let's take a look at the process. It follows this really logical 4-step workflow. First, it scans your environment, sniffing out every last instance of ingress-nginx. Then it flags all of those custom nginx-specific annotations. This is where you find out what's not going to play nice. And then the third step is absolutely crucial. It ranks the difficulty, so you know which problems are the 5-alarm fires and which ones are minor tweaks. And finally, it generates some starter YAML files, giving you a real tangible starting point for your new Gateway API resources, not just a big list of problems. But look, generating some YAML is just a bonus. The real, true value here is foresight. I mean, think about it. How many big migration projects go completely off the rails because of some gotcha you didn't see coming? IMK is designed to get rid of those surprises. It's basically a map showing you where all the potholes and dead ends are on the road ahead. And all of this leads to a much, much smarter way to plan your migration. It's all about adopting this audit-first mindset, which for a project of this size is not just nice to have, it's essential. Now, it's super important to know that IMK isn't the only tool in this space. The official Kubernetes team is working on something called Ingress to Gateway, but they do very different jobs. Think of it this way. IMK, on the left, is your therapist. It audits the blockers, it helps you understand the scope of your problems. Ingress to Gateway, on the right, is more like a translator. It's focused on that mechanical conversion from one format to another. IMK helps you map the terrain before you start building the road. And this is what that audit actually looks like. IMK spits out this super clear report card for all your annotations. Some stuff, like ingress.class, is fully supported. Easy, no problem. But then you get to the infamous rewrite target, and it's partially supported. Okay, that means you're going to have to implement a specific filter. And then you hit something like auth URL, and oof, unsupported. That's a huge red flag telling you that you need to completely re-architect that part of your solution. So what this tool really does is let you answer the big strategic questions. You can audit exactly which of your services are dangerously tied to NGX. You can map out what's even possible in the new world of Gateway API. And maybe most important of all, you can plan the real effort needed, turning this big, scary, unknown project into a set of concrete, manageable tasks. So when you really put it all together, using IMK just feels like a deeply pragmatic first step. Let's face it, this whole situation is messy and frustrating for pretty much everyone. This tool is all about bringing some much-needed clarity to that chaos. Which, of course, brings us to the final, bottom-line question: should you actually use the Ingress Migration Kit? Well, look, if you have any custom Ingress NGX configs, and who doesn't, the answer is a pretty resounding yes. Its value really comes down to these three things. It gives you visibility to see exactly what's going to break. It gives you transparency to understand the true scope of the work. And it lets you build trust in your migration plan because it's based on hard data, not just, hopeful guesswork. And I honestly don't think there's a better way to think about it than this final quote. In a situation that kind of feels like your core infrastructure is breaking up with you, IMK is that one friend who doesn't show up with empty promises. They show up with coffee, a whiteboard, and a solid plan to help you figure out what's next. And in the world of DevOps, that is exactly the kind of friend you need.